What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where we are training up warriors, not mealy-mouthed weaklings. Today is Tuesday, October 9th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And this is a show where we come to get equipped to stand firm, speak truth, and fight back against a culture that is trying to steal your faith, your family, and your freedom. And the battle that we're in is not just political, it is spiritual. And this battle that we're in never, ever takes a day off. So we are done, absolutely done pulling punches. The gloves are off, and we're getting after it. So be sure to follow us at Mission Ready Men on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Truth Social, and be sure to subscribe to our Rumble and YouTube channels as well. On YouTube, we are up to 639 subscribers. When I just looked not too long ago, 639. So thank you all very much for that. And if you want to show them that you are in this fight, grab your gear at missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs that we have there. All right, y'all, it's go time. And we got a lot, a lot to get to. I thought I had prepared pretty well for the show. And then this morning I wake up and there is an alleged peace deal between Israel and Hamas. And everyone everyone thinks this is a great thing. And all things being equal, if everything works out the way President Trump and everyone hopes, then it is great. But I've been around long enough to know and read the Quran, and I've been following this conflict for long enough to realize, to understand that this is fragile at best. But they have agreed, Israel and Hamas have agreed to phase one of a U.S. brokered peace deal. And as I said, we've seen this. We've seen this before, and it usually ends with more gunfire, more rockets, explosions, and all the rest of it. A ceasefire over there means we're just pausing while we reload and regroup, honestly. But phase one, and I want to go through this real quick because it's a fluid situation, and so we're just going to have to wait and see. But this initial phase one calls for a ceasefire. Israel stops its ground operations and air operations, and Hamas agrees to stop firing rockets into Israel unless conditions change. And I think we all know what that means. Israel's going to pull back its troops to some mutually agreed lines on the map in Gaza. And yeah, I mean, again, we're just going to have to wait and see, because no one in their right mind trusts Hamas. And there's a reason for that, because in their holy book, in their religion, they have a practice that allows them to lie to advance the cause. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't trust it. And the chat is already lit up. Let's take a look at this real quick before we move on. BZ, thanks for being here, BZ. Let's examine the top 10 deals with muzzies that have held up. Yeah, there you have it. There's the list. Oh my goodness. No, BZ, there is no top 10 list. Not a one. And Jersey Joe is here as well. Thanks for being here, Joe. And the Queen Bee is also here. Thank you all for being here. All right, let's get back to this real quick. There is a part of this phase one is a prisoner swap. Israel is going to get the 20 hostages who are allegedly still alive. We'll have to wait and see about that. And the 28, I believe 28 remains of hostages that have passed away since they have been in Hamas captivity. And Hamas is going to get back 250 convicted terrorists who are on death row in Israel, convicted of terrorism in Israel, and then another 1,700 or so Palestinian prisoners who basically they didn't have enough evidence to convict them. But they're probably terrorists too. I mean, come on. And so that's about 80, 85 terrorists per hostage. That seems slightly lopsided, if you ask me. And this is all supposed to take place in a 72-hour window. So by Monday, all of the hostages are supposed to be home. Again, we'll see. What's not in this phase one, at least from what I've read so far, and I could be wrong. Like I said, this just broke this morning as I got up and was still preparing for this show. So maybe I missed it, but Hamas has not agreed to disarm yet. And the thing is, this war could be over, could be completely over if Hamas disarmed, if Hamas agreed to lay down their weapons. And a lot of the critics of Israel say that Israel could end this war if they laid down their weapons. Well, the problem with that is that if Israel lays down its weapons and doesn't fight, Hamas is going to take over. Hamas and all the other Islamic factions over there are going to invade, and Israel will no longer exist. It's that plain and simple. They don't believe that Israel has a right to exist. And the people who support Palestine, the people who support Hamas, they are supporting their position that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. And a lot of people like Dave Smith, who is, I just found out, is actually Jewish, by the way, go figure. But a lot of those people agree. A lot of those people don't think that Israel has the right to exist. So there's that. And so far, what I can tell, the framework of this deal is, trust me, bro. Israel's supposed to just trust that Hamas is going to do the right thing. And Hamas is supposed to trust Israel that they're going to do the right thing. And their trust would be well placed. Trusting Hamas, on the other hand, is a fool's errand and should never, ever be done. Hamas calls this a step towards liberation. That sounds like code to me for we're recalibrating our efforts here. We're getting ready for something big. That's what that sounds like to me. But again, there I go being, what does BZ call it? I don't know. I guess I'm being unreasonable in that. We'll see. If unreasonable means looking back at history, looking at what they teach and reacting accordingly, well then, yeah, I guess I'm unreasonable. You can't negotiate with terrorists. You can't. You can't trust them. You negotiate with terrorists at your peril. So, as much as I know President Trump wants to believe that this is it is a good thing, but I know he wants to believe that this is going to be a lasting peace that he's going to be credited with. I don't think so. I think this is just a pause, and things are going to go right back to the way they were. Maybe not immediately, maybe not 6 months from now, maybe not even a year from now, but eventually Hamas is going to come back with a vengeance. And anyone who's been paying attention to this conflict and has a couple of firing neurons knows this. Either that or they're just willfully being ignorant and hate Israel. There's also that possibility. But anyway, we're going to stick with this theme of Islam, because the title of this show is Allah's Land Grab When Tolerance Turns into Territory. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I've been talking about this deal in Texas with Epic City, and how Islam is taking over. Islam is taking over in places like Florida and Texas, and of course we know what they're doing over in the UK. And they're doing it here, and even in states like Texas, they're letting it happen. They're letting it happen. So what's happening right now in Texas? Like I said, we talked about Epic City. We'll revisit that here in a second. But there's a town called Murphy, Texas, and there is a development in Murphy, Texas called, what's it called? Oasis Springs Manor. And if you're on X and you are interested in this topic, you need to follow Amy Mack. Amy Mack is she's on this, and her posts about this are very informative, and you really need to take a look at it. And in this development called Oasis Springs Manor, the city of Murphy has allowed them to name streets after Islamic Arabic names. Let's take a look at this one right here. No, not that. That. There we go. This is a street, a corner in Oasis Springs Manor. Sadiq Drive. On the corner of Sadiq Drive and Osman Drive. And this is just one corner. There's another one, Syed Drive, and I think there's one more. No, that's not it. Oh yeah, Osman and Alman, another one. And this is all in one particular area of this development. I looked it up on the map. I looked it up on Zillow, and this is actually happening. And that's just one. We're going to get into another one here in a second, because I don't think that is actually was developed by any Islamic group. I think they just allowed them to name those streets that way. But there is another compound that is being built in Murphy, Texas, on 2.3 acres of land, and that's going to grow. I guarantee that. where they have plans, and the city of Murphy has approved plans to build a 32,000 square foot mosque because they've outgrown their 2,600 square foot property that they've been renting. 32,000 square foot mosque. That, they actually have a website, and I'm going to show you that real quick. Islamic Association of Murphy Masjid, and Masjid is mosque. They purchased extra land. They revised the site plan. They've increased it to 32,000 square feet. And according to their own website right here, the size of the sanctuary or prayer hall is now comparable to the biggest masjids of DFW. That's plural mosque. So it is among the biggest mosques in the DFW area, or it will be once the construction is complete. And part of this plan was that they needed to fix one of the roads leading to this property, and the cost of that was going to cost them $800,000, and they negotiated it down to under 50% at $396,000. And right here it says that they're working with the city to ask for more. They're going to want the city, they want the city to pay for the whole thing, to fix the road so that they can build their compound to take over the town of Murphy, Texas. This is insane. If you think that your local elections don't matter, think again. Because these are elected officials that have gone ahead and just approved this. These people, man, they must, well, we know the Muslims hate America, and the people who are allowing this to happen must hate America too. And this, one of the other things, that's right. One of the other concessions that they got, either the town or the county has a 100-foot buffer zone from between the properties. And where we used to live in Texas, it was 80 feet. And when we put up a building, we had to make sure that it was 80 feet from the road. They wanted to go, and in this particular county where this is going to be, it was 100 feet, and they negotiated it down to 70. There's a reason for that. I'm not sure what that reason is, but there is a reason they wanted it that much closer to the adjacent properties. It could be that they're planning on buying some of the adjacent property, which is very likely. And it could be for other nefarious reasons if other people own that property and don't sell it to them. Or maybe that's part of the plan to be that close so that they can pressure them. And I mean, who knows? Who knows? But there's a reason that they did that. And we got Epic City across 2 counties, 402 acres, where there's a mosque, schools, and residential properties. And they want to say that it's not an Islamic compound, but it is. They want to say that they're not, they've denied that they're going to be enforcing Sharia law in this compound. But you know that they're going to, because anyone who's not a Muslim is not going to want to live there. And so if there are no non-Muslims living there, and it's only Muslims who are in charge, well, of course, they're going to enforce Sharia law, because there's not going to be anybody there to complain about it. Unless somebody, the feds or the state, embed somebody in there and undercover to spy and see if they are enforcing Sharia law. And so what if they are? So what if they do? What will you be able to do at that point? If they have the school up, if they have the mosque up, if they have retail properties up, what are you going to do? The thing to do is to not let it happen in the first place, but that ship apparently has sailed. And so we have Epic City, we have this property in Murphy, and then there's another one in Aubrey, Texas. This is still in the planning stages, but it's 25 acres. And there's going to be a mosque, schools, retail spaces, residences. Islam is trying to take over. Their goal, and I haven't actually used this term in a while, but their goal is to implement a worldwide caliphate. That is not an exaggeration. They want Islam to take over the world. They've already done it in Europe. The UK is lost. And they're doing it here in Texas. Well, I'm not in Texas anymore, but they're doing it in Texas. They're doing it in Florida. Amy Mack, the one I told you about, I wish I'd come up with this myself. What did she say? Oh yeah, she said, "Welcome to Tex Arabia." I wish I'd coined that myself. I can't take credit for it, but Tex Arabia, where they are just, despite the lip service that Governor Abbott and the rest of them are paying to the cause, they're just allowing us to take over. And as I was preparing for this, I was looking at how many mosques and things like that, because I heard a stat and I wasn't sure. But take a look at this. I know it's kind of small, but this is a list of the states with the largest number of mosques. New York is number 1 with 343. California is number 2 with 304. And Texas is number 3 with 224. I honestly thought it was more than that. And then Florida is at 157. And I've played the video before of that Florida imam who has said in no uncertain terms they're planning on taking over. They bought some properties that were former churches, and they're going to turn them into mosques and schools and all the rest of it. I need to catch up on some of these chats here. Yep, look at what Islam did to Michigan. You're right, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit too, BZ. They are trying to conquer Texas. Who is being paid off? And fear of reprisal and appearing bigoted. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, because they're letting this happen. And I'm sure some people are getting paid off for sure. But I think a lot of it, a large percentage of it, has to do with the fact that people don't want to appear Islamophobic. I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think that is sad. But yeah, BZ, always follow the money. You're right. You are absolutely right. That has a lot to do with it too. And they trying to find sources that actually will actually tell the truth about this is hard to do, because you have to, the sources and the outlets that have this information don't want to appear Islamophobic either. So you have to do your own research. You have to, as distasteful as it may be, you have to read the Quran. You have to read the Quran so you know exactly what these people believe and what they're planning to do. And you have to do some digging. You have to do some digging, and I've only scratched the surface. I can guarantee there's a lot more that we don't know, that hasn't been reported, or has been reported and buried, that you really have to go digging for. And I've mentioned this before. So they're denying that there's any nefarious intent. But the fact is that they have this practice called taqiyya that allows them to lie to advance the cause. And so if they say that they're not going to implement Sharia law, if they say they're not going to discriminate against non-Muslims, whatever they say, if it helps them, you can almost guarantee that they're lying. Guaranteed. They are lying to advance the cause of Islam. They are lying to advance the caliphate. There are estimates like that table I showed you says that there are 224 mosques. I thought there were more, and there are estimates that there could be up to 350 mosques in the state of Texas, and Islamic centers and all the rest of it, depending on how you define the terms. Islam is spreading, and they're using our Constitution and our concept of religious liberty against us. What do we want to do about it? The founders never envisioned something like this, because they fought Islam, and they would have never thought that the country that they worked so hard to build and found would allow Islam to take over and gain such a foothold as this. They are, I guarantee you, they would never have allowed this. Never. Yet here we are. This is we're going to have to confront a serious question about property rights and religious liberty, and how we deal with this threat, because Islam, and YouTube may take me down for this, but Islam is a threat. It's a threat, and they have told us repeatedly. I mean, death to America, death to Israel. They chant this, and yet we're just allowing this to fester in our country. We said we would never forget 9/11, but yet here we are. We have a number of elected officials who have disparaged America and disparaged our allies, said that some people did something on 9/11. And in Michigan, they're about to elect another one, Abdul El-Sayed. And he is a Democrat Senate candidate in Michigan. And on October 7th, he sent out a fundraising email October 7th being the anniversary of the attack by Hamas on Israel. And in his fundraising email that he sent out that day, he accused Israel of launching a ground invasion of Gaza. Made no mention at all of the attack on Israel on October 7th. Made it seem like it was Israel just, for fun, let's go invade Gaza for no reason whatsoever. No mention of Hamas slaughtering civilians, putting babies in microwaves. No mention of that. And then, and this is that concept of takia coming up again. Then he said it was sent out by accident. Accident. Really? Really? You don't accidentally send out a polished, graphics embedded email on the anniversary of a terrorist attack. That doesn't happen by accident, where you fail to acknowledge what precipitated the so-called ground invasion that you're condemning. That doesn't happen by accident. Politico has this article. Syed calls October 7th fundraising email a mistake. That email was sent out yesterday. That email mistakenly went out yesterday. Abdul has been clear and consistent. He holds equally value the lives of all innocent people and condemns violence against them. Yeah, unless you happen to be Israeli, unless you happen to be Jewish. And then he couldn't care less. He would rather see you dead. And this guy, he was born in America, so he is technically an American, but he hates America just like the rest of them do. He wants to see a worldwide caliphate implemented just like the rest of them do. And he fits right in with the rest of them. He fits right in with Omar. He fits right in with Tlaib. He fits right in with AOC. He fits right in with the Islamo-fascist, Islamo-communist wing of the Democrat Party, which has now become basically the base of the party. They call what's going on in Gaza a genocide, when nothing could be further from the truth. And this doesn't, like I said, this doesn't happen by accident. This is their platform. This is their script. They're not, whatever lip service they pay to being anti-war, they're not. They are anti-Western civilization, plain and simple. And he has, because he's a Muslim, he has Al Jazeera and Al Mayadeen praising him, talking about the U.S. Senate candidate who calls Gaza war a genocide. That's what they think. Email was sent in error. No, it wasn't. What it was a signal. It was a signal to his base that this is what he believes, and he's using the practice of takia to try and squash any blowback from it. That's all it is. The Daily Wire had this headline. Dem Senate candidate accuses Israel of invading Gaza. I mean, These people are lunatics, and they hate America. He's going to be the Democrat senator in Michigan. It's going to happen. Just like Zohran Mamdani is going to be the mayor in New York. This guy Syed raised $1.8 million, almost $2 million, $24,000 a day in small dollar donations. 90% of his donations have been under $100. And he brags about how he doesn't take PAC or corporate money. Well, he doesn't have to. I mean, he's in Michigan. He's in Michigan. The population of Michigan is significantly, I can't remember the exact the exact proportion of Muslims in Michigan, but it's significant. It's enough for him to raise this kind of money and win this race. The Democrat Party is, I think it's over. I think they are now full-blown Islamofascists. They support Hamas. Rashida Tlaib calls Israel an apartheid state. Ilhan Omar says some people did something on 9/11 and questions America's alliance with Israel. And El Said is going to fit right in. And the DNC can't do anything about it because this is the base. This is their base. I think the rebranding of the Democrat Party, if it's not complete, it is about to be. It's about to be. Because you don't accidentally side with terrorists. That's not a bug, it's a feature in the new Democrat Party. Email was sent by mistake. Come on. They really do think we're stupid. All right, before we get a word in from the sponsor, let's see if we have some chats to catch up on, and we do. Let's see. And BZ says, and our American priests, pastors, clergy are weak and ignorant. They have zero awareness. The bulk of clergy are cowards. I mean, it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue that point. It is hard to argue that point. The Queen Bee says, keep talking facts, you're about to get canceled. Yeah, probably. Probably so. Don't we have Barack Hussein Obama to thank for the Muzzy flood into Michigan? Probably. And we have him to thank for so much that's gone on since 2008, don't we? Yeah. James Harbin, thanks for being here, James. Says it's nothing but a cult. You can lie and kill. Well, not only can you lie, not only can you kill, but you're required to kill. You're required to kill the infidel in this death cult, which fits right in with the left because they're a death cult as well. They love killing babies in the womb. They have no respect for life. So of course, they're a match made in hell. All right, y'all. Let's get a word in from our sponsor before we move on, because we got a lot more to get to, and I don't know if I'm going to get to it all, quite frankly. But our sponsor for today's show is Carry Girl Gear. And if you're looking for a great gift for your wife or your girlfriend or your daughter, check out carrygirl.com. They have some of the best looking, highest quality shirts out there, bold designs, great fabric, and things that she will actually want to wear. And it's not just shirts. There's drinkware, hats, a whole host of accessories that she will absolutely love. And if you're not sure of what to get, but you know she'll like some of this stuff, go ahead and get yourself a gift certificate, a gift card, and let her pick out her own gear. It's quick and easy, and she'll get exactly what she wants. So head over to carrygirl.com today, show some love, and make it count. Visit carrygirl.com today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men Briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe, every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Joe made his triumphant return, and it was a great show. So be sure to check him out tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, which means he will be on this evening. So be sure to check him out and like and subscribe and check out all of the great shows that we have here on the SHR Media Network. And subscribe, share the videos, share them with everyone you know, and pray that we have a huge breakthrough this year. We're like I said, we're at 639 subscribers, I believe, which is fantastic. Thank you all for sharing and subscribing. We love it. We love to see it. And so we're looking forward to reaching as many people as we possibly can. All right. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And BZ wants to remind everyone that he will be on tonight. I thought I made that clear, but if not, BZ and the Berserk Bobcat Saloon will be on tonight. All right, y'all. I haven't talked about these people in a while, and and they said something that I just have to address. And I'm talking about the harpies on The View. Noted theologian Sunny Hostin. She enlightened us with some scriptural interpretations that I am certain, absolutely certain, she has not. And let oh, these hags, yes, exactly. That was awesome. Yeah, let's take a listen to this because Sunny Hostin. Oh, anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
People really deserve.
I am against the death penalty in all cases.
Well, I think
in all cases, and that's why I find there is a hypocrisy with certain Christians who are pro-life, but they will pull that electric chair switch. They are pro-life, but they have their AR-15s in their cabinet. They are pro-life, but they don't mind immigrant families being torn from each other. They are pro-life, but they don't care about little children's subsidies being taken away from them. That is not pro-life.
I was just going to say, I'm
Wow. She is. I'm not sure if she's the dumbest person on TV, but she is definitely in a discussion between her, Abby Phillip, and there's someone else whose name escapes me at the moment. But wow, she is stupid. She's saying that if you're pro-life, then you have to oppose the death penalty and you have to oppose gun ownership. I don't even know where to begin, but let's just, I mean, it's the and she claims to be a Catholic, by the way. There was another clip that I came across. I didn't save it, where she talked about being Catholic and how it was unchristian to be against pride, and she was gonna, as a practicing Catholic, she was gonna take her kids to a pride parade. This was a few years back. Oh, she's a moron. She is an absolute moron. And the anti-Christian bigotry that she displays here makes me wonder about her Catholicism, because she is pro baby killing, which the Catholic Church is vehemently against. And we know the Pope just recently said something about the death penalty. So I'm not sure how much better this Pope is than the last one. But the moral outrage from these people, from these harpies, it only goes one way. Guns are bad, and faith is even worse. True faith, not the fake faith that she's been throwing out. But let's look. She says that if you oppose abortion but own guns, you're inconsistent. Your Christianity is called into question. And if you support strong borders, you're anti-life or something. It's the word I use to describe these people all the time is inconsistent, is incoherent. These people are they're just all over the road. All over the road. But here's the thing that she seems to forget, or just conveniently leaves out. Christian, before I even get into that, if she is in a situation where she needs to call the police, somebody with a gun is going to show up and possibly save her life. Does she not want that? Is she one of these people who, like I mentioned before, who says that if it's your time, and you can't fight it? Is that her position? It's a pretty stupid position, if you ask me. So all of that makes you, if you're a Christian, makes you inconsistent. And the only way you can be a consistent Christian, according to these people, is to vote Democrat and own no weapons at all. Be completely at the mercy of a predator who wants to end your life. It's completely ridiculous. But let's take a look at what the Bible says. The Bible does command, "Thou shalt not murder." Exodus 22, verse 2. If a thief is found breaking in and he is struck so that he dies, there shall be no guilt for his bloodshed. That's not murder. That's defending your life. That's defending your property. And the Bible does not condemn that. So who's really inconsistent here? Romans 13:4, which is a verse that I've cited a few times on this show, it grants the civil authority the authority to bear the sword, to fight evil. in this case, in this day and age, that's the sword is guns. Ecclesiastes 3:3 says that there is a time to kill and a time to heal. If killing was against the word of God, why would there be a passage in here that says there is a time to kill? For everything, there is a season. Murder is the unjust taking of an innocent life, like a baby in the womb. Killing in defense of yourself, of your family, is not only necessary to preserve life, but it's your responsibility. Especially as a man, it's your responsibility to protect your life, to protect your family, your wife, your children. And so, who's the inconsistent one here? And I guarantee you, she's never read any of this. Come on. The Bible does condemn murder. What it does not command is pacifism. These same people who condemn gun ownership, but yet praise these violent protests. They are the same people who applaud the violent rhetoric that we're seeing out of the left. They absolutely hate weapons. They hate violence until it fits their narrative and the mob or their bodyguards need one. Then it's all good. Christians are not hypocrites for defending life. Christians are not hypocrites for owning guns. In fact, Christians are the people that you should trust the most with guns. Because we're not just going to go around indiscriminately killing people. We know what they're used for. We know that we need them to protect life. And we're not just going to pull it out just for grins one day and say, hey, take a look at this, and pull the trigger. Doesn't work that way. We know it doesn't work that way. So if you get your theology, if you take Bible lessons from the Harpies at the View, you might as well take your medical advice from Dr. Pepper. Seriously. Because you probably get more benefit, honestly. All right, that's enough of them. Hopefully, I don't have to talk about them again for a while. I'm not so sure. We'll see. Let's talk about Pam Bondi. We got about 35 minutes left, and I think I hope we can get everything in. Before we move on to Bondi, let's take a look at some of the. Yes, BZ, that is an infantile comment. Yes, it is. The Queen Bee says somebody follows Jamal Bryant. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she does, actually. I think he's been on that show. And I've talked about Jamal Bryant before. I'm not going to get into his nonsense. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about as time goes on. Yeah, BZ. As was said, leftists kill Charlie Kirk, the nicest one of us. The rest of us are not that nice. No, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Speaking of not nice, Pam Bondi was not playing nice in her testimony the other day. She let them have it. And I am not a huge fan of Pam Bondi. I really am not. I don't trust her. But I got to say, her performance in that hearing the other day was outstanding. She was not taking anything from these leftists. And I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. She had no time for it. Oh man, she was not there to play nice. And they tried a bunch of gotcha questions. And Dick Durbin was one of them. And let's let's take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll play them all, and then we'll get into it. But check this out.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Wow. And she was just getting started. She was just getting started. And of course, she's 100% right. They do not want to protect their citizens, and they do not want to enforce federal law, or at least allow the feds to enforce federal law. And so he's sending the troops, and good. And here's the other thing. The thing with that, the politicians, the Mayor Mohawks and Governor Twinkies, they don't want to see this. But the citizens of those areas, they could not be more pleased to see the National Guard show up. You see it all over the place. You have to look for it because the American Pravda won't play it. But the citizens of these areas are happy. Then there's Blumenthal. Let's see. She lit up Blumenthal big time. And I don't know how familiar you are with Blumenthal. I've known about this guy since the incident that she talks about actually happened. I remember it. But let's take a listen to this.
In the merger that took place,
Which merger? You've listed many.
Involving American Express GBT. I understand that Brian Ballard, longtime backer and head of the law firm where you worked, was instrumental in lobbying the Justice Department to drop that lawsuit. It was dismissed, so it's not subject to a court review. What conversation did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You
you.
admitted you
I am
lied
not
to be
accusing
elected
you
a
of
U.S. senator.
impropriety.
You
I'm asking
lied.
you
How
about
dare you? I'm a
conversations
career prosecutor.
with Mr.
Don't you
Ballard,
ever challenge my integrity.
had
I have
apparently-
abided by every ethics standard. Do not question my ability to be fair and impartial as Attorney General, and anything
You'll
with
answer that
my
question to
former
another of my
firm,
colleagues.
Ballard Partners.
Thank you.
Well, now, she was not having it. How dare you? And he had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. He couldn't come back at all because he did admit that he lied. And I remember when that happened, and I could not believe that he actually got elected and has been in office ever since. Well, that brings us to one of my favorites. Old Pencil Neck himself. She let him have it too. And he's talking about, and this was something I didn't know about. I didn't know that there was an investigation into Holman for taking a bribe. And I haven't, aside from this, I haven't really looked into it much. But I guess it's been dropped by the DOJ for lack of evidence or whatever. But Adam Schiff is trying to get her to talk about this, and she's not having it. Check it.
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing in which members of Congress can get serious answers to serious questions about
Are the riots in LA serious?
About the cover-up of corruption, about the prosecution of the president's enemies. And
I think you owe the president an apology.
when will it be
Your entire career, frankly.
that the members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions and refuse to accept
Clearly you're a failed lawyer
refuse
because
to
you don't
accept,
understand when someone can and cannot
refuse
answer
to
a
accept
question.
personal slander as an
Failed
answer
lawyer.
to those questions.
Personal slander.
With
Will
that,
you
Madam
apologize
Chair,
to Donald
I yield
Trump
back.
for slandering him? Personal slander.
This
Hear
is
about that,
supposed to
Senator?
be
Clearly, you're a failed lawyer. He's a failed human being, honestly. I mean, this is the guy who claimed to have found and seen evidence of Russian collusion. And if that was true, we still haven't seen the evidence that he claims he found. We got a couple more I want to get to because some of these are amazing as well. She gets into it with Senator Welch from Vermont, and this was this was awesome. Check this out.
I do want to go back to Homan. You know, there's a tape, right, with Mr. Homan? I mean, first of all, is there a tape that has audio and video of the transfer of the $50,000?
You would have to talk to Director Patel about that.
No, I'm talking to you.
I don't know the answer, Senator.
Yet you do know the answer to
Don't
that.
call me a liar.
I didn't call you a liar.
You just said I know
you
the
did.
answer. I said I don't know the answer.
Well,
You have to talk to
okay, let
Director
me-
Patel. What I said is that
Let me
investigation
put it
was
another way.
closed.
If you don't know, why don't you know whether there was a tape and video?
Senator, I believe that was resolved prior to my confirmation as Attorney General.
Do you think that it is of public interest for the people to know what happened to the 50 grand that the FBI turned over to Homan?
Did you hear what I just said? That was resolved prior to my confirmation as Attorney General. That's why I said I would not know.
It's not resolved. There's $50,000. Homan has it, or somebody has it. Do you have no interest in knowing where it is?
You're not going to sit here and slander Tom Homan. The FBI and Deputy Director Blanche said there was nothing.
I'm not slamming Tom Homan. He got the 50
Tom
grand.
Homan is doing, how do you know that? Tom Homan is doing a great job, as our borders are, keeping your border state safe.
Oh, wow. Don't call me a liar. And he did. He essentially, he didn't use the words, but he said, yeah, you do know the answer, calling her a liar. And she wasn't having it. And finally, let's take a look at this. There's a couple of, I think I'll just do the one of her interaction with Sheldon Whitehouse, another winner in the Senate.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found?
You ever see that meme when someone says, have you ever come across somebody so stupid you just squint? That's the look on her face right here.
Those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Look at the look on her face right here. Oh, that was awesome. There was another exchange with him where she talked about his taking money for his wife's business. Yeah, that was that was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. So the Senate was trying to conduct oversight of Pam Bondi and the DOJ, and she wasn't going to have it. She was not going to have it, and I don't blame her, especially coming from these leftists whose only goal seems to be to still smear President Trump. That's it. That's all they got. All they got is lawfare, smear campaigns, and projection, because every accusation, I've said this before and I'll say it again, every accusation from the left is a confession. She went in there and she cross-examined them. She cross-examined them and she let them have it. She went scorched earth, and it was awesome to watch. Absolutely awesome. All right, I got one other thing I want to get into, and we may get you out of here a little early depending on how long-winded I get on it. But there is a former megachurch pastor, and this is gonna go right into BZ's disdain for organized religion. And this could have widespread implications for a lot of people who don't like organized religion. I don't like organized religion. I like to say that it's a relationship with God, not a religion. That's the true Christians have a relationship with God, and organized religion doesn't play a part in it. And I'm talking about right now Robert Morris. He was the pastor of one of the largest churches in the country, Gateway Church. It's a mega church in Texas, and he built a mega church empire, preaching integrity and purity and repentance. And he was just sentenced to, and this is this is amazing, but he was sentenced to 6 months in jail as part of a 10-year suspended sentence for 5 counts of lewd acts with a child. And this took place in the 80s. And normally I would be like, oh, 30 years ago, come on. But the victim has been vocal about it, and the victim's family has been vocal about it since it happened. And it's taken this long for justice to be done. If you can even really call it justice. I mean, 6 months in jail, and then a 10-year suspended sentence. 6 months is a hockey season, as Lieutenant Cappy once said. And if you get that reference, we can be friends. But yeah, he's going to spend 6 months in jail in Oklahoma for molesting a child back in the 80s. He pled guilty in Osage County, Oklahoma. He will be required to register as a sex offender and pay $270,000 in restitution to the victim, who is Cindy Clemishire. And he actually confessed somewhat in a book he wrote where he talked about an inappropriate relationship. He didn't mention in the book that the relationship was with a child. And he was an adult at the time. I believe he was in his early 20s when this happened. And her family all, once her family found out, they all went to the church, first of all, because he was staying with her family. And I talked about this before when it happened, when it first came out. He was staying with her family as a visiting minister. Yeah. And was engaging in this unspeakable activity. He claims through his lawyers that he has accepted responsibility before God, and he's at peace with the sentence. That's not repentance. That's not repentance. And 6 months in a county jail is not justice. This was a betrayal of unimaginable proportions. And we've seen this with the Catholic Church and the cover-up that they engaged in with the priests who were guilty of those crimes. When the predators are in that kind of position of authority, the betrayal of that, and then of the organization behind them covering it up, it's unimaginable, and it's sick. They didn't just fail this child, now woman, but they betrayed her and her family in the absolute worst way possible. And a lot of the elders of the Gateway Church are saying that they didn't know the extent of what happened. They saw the book he wrote and his confessions of an inappropriate relationship and left it at that. They claim that they just assumed that it was an adult that he just had an illicit relationship with. There is evidence that they did know. I think evidence was uncovered in the discovery process that they that they did, at least there was enough there for them to dig deeper, and they didn't do it. And this type of betrayal can do damage, not just, it did damage to the victim, obviously, and her family, but it can do damage to the church body as a whole, because it will drive people away from the church. The Catholic Church, when they were going through the scandal with the priests, that had a huge impact on the number of people who left the Catholic Church and abandoned their relationship with God altogether, because they just felt like if someone in that position can do that, then what's the point? And that's the same thing that can happen here. The people will just abandon their relationship with God, because they feel like, well, how can there be a God if the representative of God, a leader of a church, can do this? Well, then what's the point? And that's tragic, understandable, and tragic. Cindy Clemenshire is, from what I understand, a Christian still. But for every one of her, there are thousands of people who will see this and completely walk away. And that is the exact opposite of what Robert Morris was supposed to do. He was supposed to draw people in. He was supposed to make disciples, not drive people away. And this is kind of the danger of the mega church phenomenon, because once they become a mega church, they can become a brand rather than a ministry. And then the pastors become celebrities. And then it's not about spreading the word of God. Then it's not about creating disciples. Then it's not about building the kingdom. Then it's about protecting your image. Then it's about PR and not the soul of the parishioners. And it's not, Gateway isn't the only one. I mean, this is, we talked about the Catholic Church, and you can talk about Hillsong and Mars Hill and a host of other ministries that have fallen into this type of scandal. And it follows somewhat of a pattern. You have a talented, charismatic preacher, and they value that over truth. And then the influence that charismatic preacher has gets prioritized over integrity, gets prioritized over the gospel. And then everything becomes about protecting that image, as opposed to spreading the word of God. And every time it happens, people who are on the fence, people who are already against church and religion, are just going to have another reason to call the church a scam and to call the preachers scam artists and grifters, rather than believers who actually walk the walk and leave those actual believers to clean up the mess behind guys like Robert Morris. Cindy Clemenshire, she stood firm. She stood firm. She's been on this. She's been trying to get justice for herself for decades. And it finally happened. She finally broke this megachurch machine. Good for her. I'm not going to say it's too late, but the fact that it took this long is tragic. And Morris is now behind bars for a short period of time. But she has lived a lifetime in that wreckage. And continue to speak the truth. Robert Morris is going to spend 6 whole months in jail. A blink of an eye, it's going to go by like that. And then he'll be free on a suspended sentence. And who knows what, I don't know. It just doesn't seem fair. And he's going to have to answer to God for this. He's going to have to answer to God for this. The gospel does not fail. The Bible is an infallible word of God. The gospel doesn't fail. Men fail. And when people say that they had a bad experience in church, they had a bad experience with religion, so did Jesus. He had the worst experience. And those Christians who are in positions of authority, who are faithful and who are doing the Lord's work, are going to have to pick up the pieces of this. And 6 months for Robert Morris in a county jail doesn't even scratch the surface. Doesn't even scratch the surface. Maybe, hopefully, his downfall will remind us that protecting victims is the real work, the real responsibility of the church, not protecting images, not protecting brands, not protecting the cash flow of the megachurch. It's protecting victims. It's protecting the souls of the people who you are there to help. All right, y'all. I had one other thing I wanted to talk about. Maybe I'll get to it next time. But anyway, that's all I got for you this time. That's it. 90 minutes went by in the blink of an eye. I will keep trying to make each episode better than the last. If anything that I said hit home for you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this video with everyone that you know, because we're not just here to opine. We're not just here to bloviate. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and raise the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. And if you want some cool gear like this shirt I got on right now, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, check out all the great designs that we have over there. Designs that talk about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. Actually, you know what? Let me take a look at this one chat real quick, because I think DZ says, as I said about police officers, betraying their oaths and refusing to protect and serve, aligning themselves with terrorists. That is sick. That is a betrayal. That is disgusting. And that, yes, and that's exactly what Robert Morris and those like him have done. All right, y'all. That's it. As always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.